Hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Frank Rausan Pereira. Well, the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her 8th consecutive union budget on Saturday. The income tax rebates she announced have been the biggest talking point. Schemes for the MSME sector, women, farmers, education, boosting exports and much more have also been announced. The initiatives aim to boost self-reliance with an eye on Atmanirbhar Bharat and the nation's goal of a Viksit Bharat. As we continue to understand the full extent of the budget, let's today look at a few key areas. The engines of growth: agriculture, MSMEs, investments and exports. And we'll also take a closer look at the acronym GYAN, which is Garib, Youth, Annadata and Nari. We will also take a look at some of the other big ticket announcements. Well, joining me on the program today to do just that are Mr. Rajit Punhani, Secretary, Rajya Sabha and also CEO Sansad TV. Also with us is Vineeta Hariharan, Public Policy Expert. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on this special telecast. Vineeta Hariharan, I'd like to start the program with you first. Let's try and understand and analyze what are the key takeaways, the key highlights for you from this budget.
Thank you for having me on Sansad TV. It's indeed a privilege and honor to be here on this channel. So as we can see, the union budget for 25-26 has been extremely promising and encouraging, as has been the last few budgets since Atmanirbhar Bharat has been announced in India. Since I think COVID and post-COVID, we've had very, very interesting budgets being presented by the Honorable Finance Minister. As we know, India lives in, it's a very complex canvas where we have the various categories of people, right from the lower income, the middle income, and the prosperous and the business class. Therefore, we need to have budgets which cater to all of these sections, which the budgets in the past few years and this budget specifically has been able to achieve. And we've gone beyond the very traditional 5-year plans very long back. In this present government, we have moved away from the 5-year planning system to a more agile economic pattern and a more agile budget also, which is responsive to the needs of the market. As the globe also changes its pace, the pace at which the globe is progressing is very high, with all innovation and new tech, like AI and all of that taking over our work systems. So therefore, we need to have a budget which is dynamic, and which is what this budget has achieved. And as you know, our budgeting has been based on a barbell theory. A barbell theory is where we have high-end innovation and industry provisions for high-end innovation industry, as well as we have provision for the lower income through welfare schemes and subsidies, whereas the middle income was a little crushed. But this budget, we have seen a huge tax relief announced for the middle income, which is going to be a bonanza, because up to 12 lakh is exempted from income tax, as we know. So it has been progressively increasing from 2014 from 2.5 to 5 lakh to 7 lakh and now 12 lakh. So, and the standard deviation, the standard deduction has also increased from 50,000 to 75,000. So that's going to be a huge. So I think it's a well-balanced budget catering to the extreme lower income, which is the poor, where and also you said the 4 engines of growth. Agriculture, we have the the National Cotton Mission, the oil mission, the Pulses Mission, then the different the Rural Resilience and Prosperity Program, which caters to self-sufficiency for rural areas. Then again, a thrust for MSMEs, as has been there in the previous budgets, increase for MSMEs, and as you said, innovation, AI, and then exports also.
Absolutely. We'll go into each one of these sectors. We'll try to go into as many sectors as we possibly can. But let me bring in Mr. Punhani into the picture as well. A well-balanced budget, a budget for everyone is what Ms. Vineeta Hariharan is suggesting. Mr. Punhani, I'd like to know your highlights. What really stands out for you in this budget?
Just to add to the previous speaker, one thing that appealed to me the most, that it's a more integrated budget. It's like, for example, AI. Now, AI is not taken in isolation. They have tried in this budget to create an ecosystem. Now, the ecosystem would involve various things. So then they've created a fund for like centers of excellence. Then they've allocated money for centers across. Then they've also allocated money for broadband connectivity to schools. and similarly they've made a focus on not only the domestic market but also the export market. So the idea is that these key growth drivers in each of these sectors, they've taken a more integrated approach. So they've when you want to focus on something, it cannot be done in isolation. It has to be done across sectors and across silos, so that the whole AI economy, for example, they've concentrated on the whole AI economy, which also includes physical infrastructure, so broadband connectivity. Then the startups, so they have to encourage the startups. So they've given tax, they've continued the tax concessions and even given a little more. They've expanded the base of the startups. Similarly, for semiconductors or for the other infrastructure required, they have given and focused on each of these. So this is one thing which appealed to me in this budget.
Absolutely. The AI push, we are in an AI race at this point in time, center of excellence really with regards to technology, with regards to the Atal labs and so on and so forth. So much in the budget for the youth. All right, let me take the discussion forward now. Ms. Hariharan, let me come back to you. Let's talk about MSMEs. It's a sector that you have paid a lot of attention to over the years. It's a sector that is very close to your heart. How do you look at what's been given to the MSMEs and how will it boost the economy?
No, absolutely. So MSMEs have been the pillar of growth ever since I think this government has come in place. There's been a huge thrust to MSMEs, which earlier governments have maybe neglected the MSME sector, and it wasn't given that much trust as it should have been. And even now, various district industry centers need a lot of revamping in various states. But a lot of work has been done, a lot of ground has been covered, and this budget also takes forward the agenda of the previous budgets as well to give a trust to the growing MSME sector, where we have the fund of funds, the 10,000 crore fund of funds being generated, infused into this budget, and also the fund for the startups, very encouraging for the first time women entrepreneurs, 5 lakh, the first 5 lakh women SC/ST entrepreneurs, there's a term loan up to 2 crores being given. So I think those are the SOPs that have been given, and there's a revised definition again. Once again, the MSME's definition has increased, where the investment and turnovers has been revised by 2.5 and 2 times. So which is actually based on the success of the past revision and definition. So once definition is not just a revision, not just a revision and definition, but it increases the outreach. The number of MSMEs that you can cover with this improved definition actually was seen in the last time when it was changed. It was changed in 2020. After several years, it was actually revised. So this revision in the categorization actually has a lot of, like you say, the butterfly effect or the ripple effect on the MSME sector per se. And of course, the credit cards for MSMEs is extremely interesting and innovative, thing that has been brought up in the budget. With the limit of up to, I think, 5 lakh or so for the MSMEs. So credit cards for MSMEs, the improved definition, the startup funding, and then for the increased acceleration for women MSMEs. I think all of this will play out in the coming few years.
True, very true. All right. Mr. Punhani, let me bring you back into the picture now once again. We are looking at engines of growth as well. Agriculture rightly has been put as the first engine of growth, because we still know a lot of rural India is dependent heavily on agriculture. Several jobs have been created post the COVID pandemic as well in the agriculture sector. There's agriculture, there's investment, and there's exports as well. So these are all engines of growth and all in the right direction.
Yes, I mean, agriculture, India is predominantly people are in the rural areas. So it's something that we have to address. But one thing good about which I feel about this budget was that they've also tried to address the problem of underemployment in agriculture. So while agriculture needs to be developed, there's also an emphasis on innovation. There's an emphasis on investment, and there's an emphasis on what you call agri-related or other rural industrialization. So there is a focus now that the rural economy has to depend not only on agriculture, the rural economy has to also diversify into various other fields. And this consumption, this raising of the tax limit will also lead to an increase in consumption. That is also one concern, was that the growth in consumption was maybe not as much as one had desired it to be. So this time they've addressed that. So once the consumption grows, the rural consumption and the urban consumption grows, so automatically there'll be a lot of focus on investment in the rural areas too.
Absolutely. So these are the key areas really as far as the budget is concerned. Another key area, of course, is women empowerment, gender budget as well as Nari Shakti. So coming back to you, Vineeta Hariharan, let's talk about these aspects as well and how the budget looks at women empowerment.
No, absolutely. So there's been a lot of thrust on women, even in the budgets that were gone by, and even in the present budget. So this budget particularly, we've seen the increased investments in the Saksham Anganwadi 2.0 program. They've increased the budget based on the success in the past of the Poshan 2.0 program. And apart from that, if you see the entire budget, you analyze the entire budget, about 4.49 lakh crore is the amount that has been set apart for women, specifically across all programs across ministry, because women also have particular allocations in various schemes as well. A budget is provided for women also amongst all the beneficiaries across programs. So that's the kind of trust that's been given to women. And of course, the women entrepreneurs, the term loan of 2 crore is also encouraging. And apart from that, this government, if you see the policies for women, the kind of reforms that have been brought in the workplace reforms and the trust that's been given also in the State of the Economy report for increasing the work hours of women is extremely encouraging. And it began with the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, which was not just a campaign. It had a lot of impact on empowerment of women right in rural areas as well as in urban areas, right from the downtrodden to the middle class and the working women class. So I think a lot of work has been done for women, but yet, of course, there's a lot of ground to be covered. But these schemes have proven results, and we've also had health indicators improving for women on the ground through the programs like the Matra Vandana Yojana or Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. All of this have played out in the ground and also paid off for women on the ground. And it has resulted in an increased sex ratio also nationally for the first time ever, as an improved sex ratio from 1020 to 1000. So I think that's a very, very positive storyline that's being, being stitched up, and also the play out on the ground. It's not just a storyline; it's also playing out on the ground, and it's impacted rural women across the spectrum. And the recent past, we've seen the drone Didi, the kind of thrust for Lakpati Didis through the self-help group movement that has become an absolute revolution in the country, that has impacted millions and millions of women across various states. The Ladli Behna Yojana, the various state governments have also taken forward the agenda of the national government for empowerment of women.
Let me just take this particular aspect forward with you. Ms. Hariharan, the aspect of health that you brought in, it's very important really as far as we look at women empowerment too, because health is a very critical aspect of that.
Yeah, right. So, the trust that's been done through the various programs for pregnant and lactating mothers, all of that have impacted positively on women. And we've seen the indicators like the maternity mortality rate, the infant mortality rate, all of them improving. And so this kind of trust, and also the Prime Minister himself distributing sanitary napkins and, the 1 rupee sanitary napkin program. Then apart from that, also the education of girl child has also been given a lot of emphasis through various programs, not just the women empowerment programs, but across ministries, across programs, where women beneficiaries have been given a trust. And even if you see the financial inclusion program of providing the Aadhaar linked bank accounts, that's also impacted a large percentage of the beneficiaries have been women in the one that is the banking inclusion program for women. So I think that it's an all-inclusive, just like the earlier panelists spoke about. It's a very integrated kind of economy where one leads to the other. So therefore, all aspects of women development, from the health to the economy, has been taken care of.
When the woman prospers, so does the nation and so does society. And we've seen a lot of steps going forward with regards to women empowerment. Ms. Punhani, let me come back to you now. Let me go back to a point that you were making earlier about, the youth and skilling and the kind of requisite skills that the youth need to go into the market or go into, the industry, so to speak. This too has been a big focus area. And it's been an area that has been on top of the list, so to speak, because demographic dividend is something that we've been hearing about for a long time, and now steps have been taken to take that in the right direction.
Yes, this budget focuses on both, the skills have to be developed in all areas. So this budget that way addresses the feeder skills also, as well as the high end skills. So on one hand, you have to have innovation at a high level, you have to have technical education. At the same time, you have to have your feeder skills, where your basic skills in various vocational education, or even at basic skills in the electronic space. So that way this budget addresses both these, which is extremely important for the youth, because ultimately they will get employment not only in terms of jobs, but now the focus is also on giving of jobs. It's not only that you should seek for your own job, you should be a job creator. So the way they have given concessions to startups, encouraged entrepreneurship, they have been doing it, and it has really produced good results, because now it's easy to get loans. You have various mudra loans, you have various other loans where your collateral is not required. At the same time, they've also tried to make funds, so like you have, for example, a urban challenge fund. So now they've encouraged your urban local bodies to get finance from the banks, and they've created a fund. So 25% of, if you raise funds from a bank, then to the extent of 50%, then 25% will be given by the government of India. So that way they've tried and dovetailed their funds with your capacity to raise funds from other sources. So the youth is being encouraged not only to look for jobs, but to create jobs and go into the entrepreneur space.
So to holistically contribute to the growing economy and be job creators, not just job seekers, and take the nation forward. That's what Mr. Punhani is rightly bringing out as far as the budget for the youth is concerned. Ms. Hariharan, let me come back to you now. Let's talk about some areas of concerns and how they have been addressed by this budget. One, of course, is urban consumption that has been addressed through the income tax slabs, the new slabs, and having no income tax up to 12 lakh rupees. But as far as the other areas of concerns, how have they been addressed?
So, the budget has been moving towards the Viksit Bharat agenda, which is not just a notional concept of Viksit Bharat, but it also has a specific definition of zero poverty, 100% quality school education, access to quality, affordable and comprehensive healthcare, meaningful employment and skilled labor. 70% women in economic activity is also one of the Viksit Bharat goals. And the farmers making our country the food basket in the world. So all of these, I think, were areas of concern, and this is how, and these are also the goals that we have set up for Viksit Bharat. So all our budgets, the last couple of them and also the present one, are moving towards these goals, just like the Sustainable Development Goals decided by the United Nations. We've done our own goals through the Viksit Bharat agenda, and that's how this budget has catered to all of these goals. If you take them one by one, zero poverty, as we have seen a lot of measures for the lower income group, right from agriculture to MSMEs, to even industry. When you talk of innovation and industry, we have also the trust given to the IITs and the increase in the number of medical seats. So, and also the cancer care centers in district hospitals. I think those are big measures. Even in the last section talked about women. I missed the point, but that's an important point where cancer is an extremely it's a really debilitating disease, as we all know. It's a fatal disease, which is actually increasing. The number of of cancer patients, especially in states like higher, developed states like Kerala suffers from a lot of cancer, women especially falling prey to cancer. And so therefore this would be a good relief measure. But of course, if we can have cancer treatment, increasingly being subsidized, I think it will go a long way in helping the cancer patients. So these are all the measures for the lower income and moving towards zero poverty. Then of course, school education, we have the broadband connectivity being given to the government schools. And of course, the national education policy, which we've already had, the new education policy, which has been there for quite some time now, implemented successfully now by various universities. It's giving a holistic education to the youth, extremely well taken by the youth of today, where they're getting exposure to an all-round educational system. Then comprehensive healthcare, of course, we've had a series of schemes and announcements in the past budgets and taking it forward also in the present budget with the Jan Arogya Yojana and all of the public-private participation in healthcare. I think that has also been seen success in the past. And this budget is also nudging the private sector to bring in their pound of flesh also and put their skin in the game as well in this, in this entire nation building agenda. So I think that's also a mission which this government is trying to achieve through the infrastructure pipeline, the second asset monetization phase, where they are trying to bring in the efficiency of the private sector, but not selling the public sector assets, which is a misnomer. Many would think we are trying to sell off the assets, but that's not the case. We're just trying to infuse the efficiency of the private sector and marry that with the public sector's integrity and the public sector's monitor under the monetary thing of the public sector. So I think that's what is a very well balanced PPP scheme that we would call, and so inviting the private sector to participate the infrastructure building of the nation. And the Urban Challenge Fund is very encouraging. Again, we see a revisit to the urban development story, which there's a long way to go, a lot of capacity building required in local bodies, I believe, but this Challenge Fund would help infuse that in the right direction in capacity building of our urban local bodies, and also improved infrastructure in cities. And we'll see more satellite cities and satellite towns coming up, because there's very little that we can do in existing cities. So that's about urban development. And of course, skilled labor is already spoken about. A lot of emphasis on skilling, apprenticeship in private sector. I think that will also go a long way in public-private partnership, and seeing that we have a lot more employment generated in the coming 5 years. And of course, women focused I've already spoken about, and the farmers has been extensively spoken about, and a lot of emphasis on agriculture, which continues to contribute about 50% of our economy.
Absolutely. All right, it's time to get closing comments now from both my panelists with the best way forward and what next, starting first with you, Mr. Punhani.
No, another aspect which I found in this particular budget, and it's a way forward as part of Viksit Bharat, that we'll become a global leader. So if you see, this budget has, one is the focus on exports. The other is the GCCs that they're going to set up now. They're planning to encourage even more in the tier 2 cities. And the third is the focus on becoming part of the global supply chain. So these three aspects are making India into a global player, so that we'll also be part and a prominent player in the global economy. So this is a way forward, and that's why the emphasis on exports, besides the private sector and the public sector, will now focus not only on domestic demand but also on exports. So that makes you more competitive. Being part of the global supply chain means you will also have a place on the high table in the global economy. So these measures, I think, will be a way forward. So when we have this vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, so we will be part, we will be a prominent player in the global economy. We're already going to be the third largest economy very soon. So, I think in a matter of within a decade, we should be one of the prominent, if not the most prominent player in the global economy.
Absolutely. So external economy as well, or factors influencing the economy from the outside too, have been taken care of in this manner, and we are truly going to be a global superpower in the years to come. All right, Vineeta, Hariharan, please close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Absolutely. So I think the way forward would be, of course, accelerating towards Viksit Bharat 2047. From a developing nation to a developed nation, we would see, we want to see Bharat. And I think this budget has given the right amount of, engine for growth for moving towards Viksit Bharat, especially when you look at all the, combining the innovation aspects as well as catering to the lower income and also the middle income group. So a well-balanced budget, and we would invite the private sector to participate more in this nation building agenda to help the government to achieve the Viksit Bharat goal, and using innovation also to support our local bodies. I think that's a story that we still need to work on in capacity building of our urban and rural local bodies so that they can deliver the results in the last mile. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
With that, then, I'll have to call it a wrap on this special telecast. I'd like to thank my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. It's a well-balanced and an integrated budget that takes us towards our goal of Viksit Bharat is what is coming out of this discussion. That's it from me. See you again next time.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.